Alright, so today we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Storm Shadow. This is number 131. When it comes to ninjas, it's almost a guaranteed purchase for me. I've always liked Storm Shadow. He was always my favorite. I remember the first time I ever seen him. It was at an HEB. For those of you that know what HEB is, that is a Texas grocery store. I remember seeing I think it was Valor versus Venom. It was a 2-pack. It was Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. And I remember just seeing them and being enamored by them and like, oh man, ninja toys. I didn't know who they were, but they were ninjas. And that was cool. Ninjas are always cool. So he gets that love there. However, this figure bugs me a bit. There's things about it that I really don't like. And unfortunately, my ninja loving bias is not kicking in hard for me. So I'm going to show you guys the package here, which I'm going to say whoever took that shot, that is magnificent. I like that a lot. I just wish the final product was like this. If I received this out of the box, my attitude would be completely different. Of course, it comes in the packaging. I mean, I probably should have took a picture of that before time, but no. So, let's talk about this figure. I'm going to actually start off with the accessories first before I get into the figure itself, because the accessories are part of my problem with this figure. So, here is a backpack that has 4 arrows on it, and none of these are detachable. So that means that even though he comes with what looks to be like a composite bow, those of you that know your weapons, you can correct me, he has no arrow to attach or to use. And this is fairly decent plastic. I had to heat it up to get it to straighten out, but this is better. I would definitely say this is a lot better than what they were doing. But yeah, this is virtually useless. There's nothing I can do with this. I mean, I tried getting some poses out of it. It just wasn't looking right. The claws, which, all I'm going to say is I understand that most of the budget went into the figure itself, but a little bit of paint can go a long way. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of paint, but golly, like this just looks like plastic. It doesn't look like an actual usable claw to climb on, or Anyway, so here's the hands. Hands are fine. I don't particularly have any issues with the hands. I actually do like the sculpting on the hands. I think that's actually pretty good. There's always, it's not always perfect, but I don't expect that at the $25 range. But I will say that these hands are looking pretty good. I do like the hand sculpts. They're actually a lot better than some. So now we're going to get into the figure itself. Just going to move all of this to the side for now. This figure, it looks okay. It looks all right. I'm not going to say that it is a bad looking figure. Again, I'm partially biased because it's a ninja, so there's that. But I like the overall look. I like the design. This is, of course, this is a modern take of this particular design setup. But And I'm not a big G.I. Joe head, so I'm not going to be able to break down and tell you every little thing. But, all right. Let's talk about the articulation here. The articulation is, in my opinion, better. It actually looks like, nope, it's still there. The whole little drop hip thing that I don't think these figures really need, but they have it. But I will say the plastic on this is better. It's a lot better than what Hasbro normally dishes out. So there's that. It's definitely a lot better. I'll give them that. I just wish that they would, maybe match the paints or match the plastics to the okay, I'm just gonna get to it. Skin tones here. That bothers me. It's actually very noticeable, even in person. The stark difference of, this is clearly darker than this. And it is what it is. I understand that Hasbro is not in the business of making, statue pieces or anything like that. They're making toys. And I'm going to treat this as such. But that is something that is easily rectifiable. If I'm going to criticize other companies for it, I'm going to criticize them too. I do feel like this setup here is kind of cumbersome. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but here's what it is. Articulation, because that's what I said, right? So, arms go up about that high. Head goes up about that far. That, yeah, you seen it. I used the ab crunch before I was able to move the head. So yeah, this is pathetic. But that's about all you're gonna get out of that. You get the butterfly, which doesn't really do anything, but it's there. It doesn't really grant you any more articulation than if you didn't have it. But it's there. This one's a little looser. Don't know why. But all right, so going back with the articulation here. So this, I will say that G.I. Joe Classified, in my opinion, is the best articulated figures Hasbro has put out. Next to Power Rangers Lightning Collection, which I think actually was the superior articulated figures. But there's no excuse for why you're virtually getting nothing out of this. Like, this right here is not really that much of a hindrance. This little skirt piece, like, this is strange. Your ab crunch, it's good enough. It'd be better if you could get that side tilt going, but you won't. Goes back. You get a bicep swivel, arms, I don't know. There is hinges in the hands. It don't work that well. Now this is where I would say the plastic kind of takes a dip, is in the hands, but you got to pick and choose your battles, right? So here's your legs. Of course, like I said, it has that drop down hip, so it does get up really good. That's the one thing I will give it. It does do that. You have a swivel. The design actually hides that pretty good, so I actually like that. Here's your knee. This thing keeps getting stuck. I had to heat this up, but I'd rather have that than, loose floppy joints. So there's that. There's your foot. That's about as far back as it's gonna go. And yeah, so There's articulation that I feel like as a ninja it should have that it's kind of lacking on. Like, I think like even a toe articulation could really help with this figure. But again, it is what it is. Now, let's talk about the one thing that irks me the most about this toy. The swords, other than a few little paint splotches and whatever the plastic is doing right here, and that just looks, wow, didn't really notice that till now. That little paint swatch over there too. These swords look horrible. Like, this is awful. That doesn't even look like a sword. That looks like, when like you go to Halloween, there's like the Halloween stores and they got the little, here, be a ninja for Halloween. That's what this looks like. Like, come on. Like, this could have been so much better. Like, you're already, here's my thing. I understand that they're budgeting and they're trying to figure out what to take the L on, but God, his sword, don't take the L on the sword. I guess there's some paint there. It's better than just plain black plastic on with no removable arrows. But again, I like the look of this figure. I really do. There's just things that Hasbro tends to do that always pushes it back for me. But I do like the figure overall. I'm not going to say that it's a bad figure. It's just a figure that has its issues. The neck situation going on. I mean, it looks like they put it on a ball joint, but I guess I'm going to show you some other Storm Shadows that I feel like they just did it better. Let's see if I can get them to stand. So here's this Storm Shadow. To me, this is the best Storm Shadow they've done. I like just about everything about this one. From the whites to the off-whites, the skin tones match, and I know it's significantly less paint on this figure, but just, I feel like this is where G.I. Joe, like, this figure still looks good. Don't get me wrong. I like the stark white. It still looks good. I'm not trying to say that the figure does not look good, so don't take me wrong. I just feel like this does it better. I also feel like this one. Now, is it perfect? No. It has the situation going on with the legs. For those of you that know this one also had issues with the weapon. Because, for example, I actually painted this stuff here, so that wasn't all there. But, let me see if I can get that to focus. The sword itself was painted silver. Why? Because that's the color that a sword should be, not this light gray. Like, let me pull it back out so I can illustrate my points here. Look at this. This light gray thing, this actually has a silver tint to it. Like, that's what it should look like. Straight point again. Silver. This light gray. And even the hilts. I understand this is supposed to be more classic, but just look how soft that sculpt is compared to this. Look at that. Look at this. I'm just, I'm not trying to be super complainy or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, there's corners that were cut with this figure that I really don't think should have been. But, to each their own. I know some people are going to be like, no, G.I. Joe makes the best toys ever. I would agree that it is probably Hasbro's bread and butter at the moment, but there's just some things that I wish they wouldn't cut corners on. Let's see. Let's do a quick little pose, shall we? So, again, I like the figure overall. That may be my ninja loving bias kicking in, but it's not a bad figure. There's, like I said, it has its pitfalls for me. I know that not everybody's going to share in what I find issue in, but I think overall it's fine. You know, it's a ninja. It's another ninja for the shelf. Never going to complain with that. And yeah, I mean, he poses all right. Yeah. So that's going to be my review. Oh, I was going to show off my little custom that I've been working on. Not really sure where I'm going with this yet, but I've been working on this for months. I just haven't really done anything as far as paint or whatever. But yeah. So overall, do I recommend the figure? You know, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, I think, you know, yeah, it obviously, you know, it's a good figure. It's not bad. It's definitely not the worst figure on the market. We've seen the worst. But I would say after I've shown you some of the issues that at least I find to be issues, at least you have that information going forth. This is a drag. I really wish this was actually an actual usable accessory, but if I'm being completely honest, this is useless to me. By the way, meant to talk about this. I need to move him so that he can focus. There is no real storage for this on here. Like, that doesn't look right. There's these little peg things here that's been the closest thing that I found, but I mean, does that look right? I don't think so. You know, like, you got these clips, you know, I thought, oh, well, maybe the claws go in there. Nope. There's no way you're going to be able to get the claws on there. So, useless accessories. I don't like that. I remember when every accessory that G.I. Joe came with was usable in some way, shape, or form. Even if it was a freaking parachute. This is useless. I can't do... There's no arrow to pose with this. So, he's just going to be holding it. This doesn't draw back at all. So, useless. But anyway, that's my review. I would still get the figure. Like I said, I'm not going to use the little arrow setup, but I will use the claws. I will use the swords. I will use the many hands that he comes with. So, you know my saying. If you like it, buy it. And if you don't, leave it on the shelf for someone else. Y'all have a good one.